The San Francisco 49ers are going to kick ass and take names this season, and it all starts with head coach Kyle Shanahan.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Niners Now podcast. Myself, Niner Sickness, Beto, and we got Jess from East Coast Red and Gold. Jess, how you doing?
I am doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing great. We have a special guest today for all our viewers. This guy is very knowledgeable of football. He knows his stuff. He keeps it real. There's no BS with this guest. Whether you like him, you can hate him or love him, but there's no in between. This man will tell you what it is from his perspective. Are you excited for the guest that we have on tonight?
I am. I'm ready to talk 49ers football with him.
Absolutely. Before we bring him on, let me say hello to some of the guests that are popping in. We got Jimmy in the house. What's up, Jimmy? How you doing, sir? We got my beautiful goddaughter, Jade. Hello, beautiful. Nino is happy that you're watching Nino on his live. Welcome. We got Daniel Burry Sports in the house. How are you doing, sir? We got Bebop. What's up, Bebop? Always Bebop. A pleasure to see Bebop in the house. What's up, Bebop? Good to see you. All right. So, with no further ado, let's get this party started. Let's bring in our guest. If you have questions for our guest, we'll do it towards the end of the show. Now, he has to be gone 10 minutes before 6. So he has something to do. He's very important. This guy is being seeked out by a lot of content creators out there. So we got to make sure we respect his time. With no further ado, let's invite our new guest here today, Suneil. How are you doing, sir?
Beto, you are too much, my man.
Love you, bro.
I am not in high demand. There's nobody that
wants.
I just have somebody, just my girlfriend's outside, so I have to make sure she can get in at 6 o'clock. So
you don't want to keep her out of the door, yeah. Definitely, bro. I want to make sure we see future podcasts from you. You don't want
we don't want him on her it list.
No.
Exactly. And Beto, I gotta say, you have the best setup. Man, I feel like I'm on ESPN when I'm on your show because of all the gadgets and gizmos and stuff that you have, man. It's by far the best in the game, man. So I always appreciative when you invite me on the show. And Jess, it's our first time speaking ball, but if you're on Beto's show and he has you on a regular basis, I know you're good people. So that's how much I respect Beto and his character. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. One thing I could say to that, if you're not a good content creator, which I'm not, you have to at least bring some great graphics and some great overlays to the show. So I kind of try to make up, not everyone can be Suneil. So I got to bring some graphics. At least if they don't enjoy my comments, at least they can enjoy the graphics.
Yeah, we got to raise our game, Beto.
Yeah, we do. Especially me, I'll be like, what's next? No, just kidding. But everyone, welcome. I see Jason, Captain Jason's in the house popping in. I see Devon Richardson in the house. What's up, brother? Welcome. Appreciate everybody popping in. So, the draft is over, Jess and Suneil. We have our draft picks. We're going to talk a little bit about the draft picks. We're going to talk about undrafted free agents that we brought in. and we'll talk about some other things that pop into my head because I'm a really freelancer. I don't really have bullet points. I like to go free from the top of my head. That's just who I am. So, welcome everyone. If you haven't met Suneil, this is Suneil. He comes on YouTube. Let everybody know where you're at, brother, and where they can find you and what you got going on during the week.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a channel. It's called So Real Sports Talk TV on YouTube. So I go on there. The regular show I do is on Tuesday nights with Jesse from Last Second Sports. So if you guys have seen me, it's probably been off of that show. Obviously, Jesse's much bigger content creator.
I
And
love
then
Jesse.
on Twitter/X, I'm at So Real Sunil. That's actually my handle for all my social medias. So, I like having fun. I like talking 49ers and MMA and fighting and WWE. Those are my things. So, would love for you guys to tap in. If you need to find me, that's where you can find me.
WWE. Matter of fact, I just finished watching the last ride with the Undertaker.
Nice.
Beautiful. I don't know if you guys seen it. It's on Peacock. It's I don't know when it was done. Probably been done a while ago, but that's me. I'm always finding things late. But I watch it, and I just watched the documentary of what's the name of the gentleman? I'm being disrespectful, not remembering. He just passed away. He was a great wrestler.
Braun Strowman. No, Braun. I'm sorry. You talking about? Oh my God.
He used to walk upside down. Remember all the
Yeah, the Bray
scary.
Wyatt.
Yeah, yeah, Wyatt. Yes, yes. If you haven't seen, if you're a WWE fan, if you haven't seen this documentary that his brother made, man, have some tissue paper next to you. I don't care if you're a full-grown macho man, you're gonna cry. Great documentary. Did you see it by any chance, Neil?
I haven't watched it yet. It's definitely on my list of things to watch. Just like you mentioned, though, I know I have to get in the mood to be emotional because obviously he was taken from us way too
Too soon.
short, and for us that are big in the WWE world, it's one of those kind of like those talents that you could change the game that we didn't get to see exactly his full potential, which is unfortunate, right? Those are the saddest losses.
Yes, 100% true. Jess, let's get it back to football before Jess hits me over the head. Let's bring it back to football. By the way,
He knows me so well.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's get it back to football. We'll talk. I might have to come on your show, Sunil, talk a W. I love WD, but I'm old school. But with that said, guys, we have a great show tonight. So let's go ahead and start with our topic of the night, the 2024 draft class that we picked up. Some of you might be in love and intrigued with the guys that we got. Some of you might have your opinions like, what in the world were the Niners thinking? Now, keep this in mind. The Niners are professionals. They're getting paid a lot of money to do. Do they always get it right? Absolutely not. But they're never trying to hurt the team. They're always trying to make the team better by their decision making. We are fans. We're emotional. We like to add things that because we do 185 mock drafts, we consider ourselves experts of something that we have no expertise to do. Otherwise, we will not be doing podcasts. We'll be on ESPN and getting paid. So, with that said, I'm not referring this to Suneil. I'm referring this just to those that are watching because everybody has their opinion. People are not going to agree with your thoughts, Suneil, on this, and I want to make sure that's clear. Everybody has entitled to their opinion, whether you agree or disagree. We are all fans. We all have one thing in common. We love our 49ers. We want them to be successful. With that said, Suneil, what were your thoughts with this draft, particularly with the pick that we made at 31?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I learned from this draft, I thought it was very interesting because there was a lot of different components that were going on. So this was the first draft where Adam Peters wasn't a part of the decision making, which I think a lot of the fan base was interested in, intrigued in, because Adam Peters was kind of that enigma where we didn't know how much he actually played a role in the picks. There was a lot of rumors and innuendo that a lot of the later round draft picks were more Adam Peters picks, and we've seen how much success has come from those later round draft picks. So there was a sentiment that, or a narrative that maybe this draft won't be as good now that Adam Peters wasn't there. So I was intrigued to see how the draft went. I think what I took from it, Beto, was the 49ers evaluated this offseason and they came to a conclusion that there's two things that they're going to have to fix because one, it was the reason why they didn't win a Super Bowl, and two, they felt like this was something that was going to be consistently seen in how other teams attack them this next off season, upcoming season. And those two things were being able to stop the run and being able to beat press man coverage. And those were the two things that I think they evaluated and said, we need to get better at this. And when you look at it from that prism, I think that this draft makes a lot of sense because they drafted multiple receivers that were really good, are known to be really good route runners, which is one way to beat, man coverage, press man coverage when you have a quarterback like Brock Purdy that could throw the ball on time and accurately. And then they got defensive guys that are downhill runners, love to tackle, sound tacklers that get into gaps and you know stuff the whole pause no diddy. So that that to me is what I saw as far as the overall theme from the draft. And the next thing I saw was they seemed to focus on guys with a lot of college playing time. So
Yes.
old, quote unquote, older players, fourth year, seniors, fifth year seniors, sixth year seniors. So it seemed like they were valuing guys with higher floors versus higher ceilings. And to me, that makes a lot of sense because going into these next few off seasons, Beto, money is going to be a premium, right? They're
Yeah.
not going to have as much money to be able to fill in gaps with free agents. They have to start hitting more on their draft picks. And I think they've had a run here where they haven't been as prolific with the draft picks that they've been selecting. And I think they're like, well, let's get guys in that we feel more confident we know what they're bringing to the table because we've seen them in college for much longer. So those are the two major points. Sorry if I'm hogging the mic, but
No, no, no.
that's what I really.
You're the guest, brother. We want, the more you can say, the better.
Yeah, but that were my major takeaways. Was they evaluated what they needed to fix. They went after that as far as the plan in the draft, and then they wanted to pick guys that they felt more confident could come in and make an impact right away, which is why they picked those higher ceiling, higher floor guys rather than focusing on projects that they could develop.
Absolutely. Judge, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I like your take on the two offensive linemen that we drafted, Dominic Pooney and Jarrett Kingston.
So to me, once again, I think Pooney is perfect for this system. Obviously, he's very athletic. They traded up for him. He was a guy that's played multiple positions. So one thing the 49ers like is a guy that could be versatile, that could play multiple positions. So obviously he's was a tackle, but they look at him more as an interior player, guard. He could play potentially center as well. But I love the Pooney pick. Kingston, I didn't know as much of, but when you look at his measurables, once again, an extremely athletic guy. He's one of those guys that'll probably be more of a project, but he was obviously a late round draft pick, so usually that's where you find those type of players. But I do think that both of those guys can make an impact. I think that it adds depth to this offensive line. I think Pooney has a sneaky chance to potentially, if Kyle Shanahan is willing to shake up some things along that offensive line, I think Pooney has a chance to maybe even see some playing time this year. But definitely, I think he'll be the first man off the bench when it comes to if there's any injuries. But I love the Pooney pick. Um, what did you think about it, Jess?
I like the Pooney pick. Both offensive linemen, they've haven't let up a sack in a very long time, which I think is really good, considering we had some Chris Jones trouble in the Super Bowl. Um, but it's you won't know until you get them in there.
Yes, I'm with you on that. What's up, Dawn? I see you, girl.
Hey, Don.
One of our longest followers here on the Niner Sickness and the Niners Now podcast. Appreciate you, Dawn. Tell you lovely girls I said hello. I like Pony Pick too. I know that not all Niner fans, they wanted a tackle to be taken at particularly at 31, if not move up the draft, the board to get a tackle. Now, a lot of the tackles started to go right quickly. And even though there was a couple of linemen there at 31, you got to remember, again, just because we see a certain player potential in this system doesn't necessarily mean that Kyle and John C. in them. They're looking for particular character and what you can do in this system, how you can apply your expertise in the system. And a lot of the players that we get, like, I'll be honest with you, when we took Greenlaw, I wasn't high on Greenlaw. I was like, we'll see. And arguably, he's one of my favorite players now. These guys scout year long. They follow these kids. They look at them. Some of these kids, I love college. I watch college, go Seminoles, Florida State. But the reality is this: a lot of us don't watch college, so we don't get familiarized with these players until we start doing our mock drafts towards April. That's when we start doing our mock drafts. We get, and then we go through PFF, and PFF kind of lets you know through the auto where kind of players are going to fall to the Niners, which players are going to be within that part of it. And then we start, oh, that's a good player, and that's a good player. And like, did you watch any tape? No. Well, how do you know they're a good fit for the Niners? How do you know they're going to fit for the Niners? They might be excellent players. There's some receivers that are better than Ricky. I thought they could have been taken. But I think Ricky fits the bill better on what Kyle Shanahan's trying to do. People that love Brandon Ayuk, if you love Brandon and his style of playing, you're going to love Ricky. Ricky is, to me, is a clone of Brandon Ayuk. A lot of people say, he's there to replace Debo. It's not about replacing. Eventually, that'll happen as financial parts kick in and the reality. But right now, it's about building an offense that can put points on the board to take some of that stress off the defense and let the defense do what they do best, play from with the lead instead of playing from behind. And this is what the Niners are trying to do. So I expect Pooney to be a big part of that. I know he's played left tackle majority of his career, left guard, but the kid can play all 5 positions. I believe in the Senior Bowl, they put him at center. And actually, for me, at the tackle, he was kind of getting beat up in the tackle position. And then when they moved him to center, he started to hold his own day 2 in the Senior Bowl. And I'm like, whoa, okay. This kid can hold his own at center. So is he a future center? Maybe he takes over a right guard. We'll see what happens. This is what I love about the offseason. They're going to work it out. So he's one of my favorites. Suneil, so you talk about the guard now. There's a corner that was taken in the second round. Florida State guy. I watched a lot of him play. He's a man corner, press corner. He loves to press. Is he ideally the best corner? He wasn't even the corner on my highest board. I love Florida State, but I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, all Florida State guys are great. He wasn't the highest guy. And, there's another corner that I won't mention because they didn't get taken. But when they took Renardo Green, I think people are underestimating his ability and what he's going to be able to do on the outside. He can play inside. I think they love Nanora inside. I think they're going to play him outside, opposite of Ward. I want to get your thoughts, Neil, on this pick and what he can bring to the Niners defensive system.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would love to talk about that. But you said something that I want to chime in on when it comes to the offensive line. I know the fan base wanted the 49ers to take a tackle. I was one of them. I think that when you look at our offensive line, there was a glaring weakness, and that was the right side. Trent Williams is stout, but we don't know how much longer he's going to be playing. So whether it was to upgrade the right tackle position in Colton McKivitz or have the heir apparent to Trent Williams whenever he decides to retire and end his Hall of Fame career, I felt like this would be a good shot to be able to take that, especially with how much depth there was at tackle. However, I don't know how many times Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, by their decision making, need to tell us that they like this offensive line and they like the players on this offensive line, right? They never really make any of these huge moves to replace these guys. And there's two ways an offensive line could get better. You could bring in new talent, or the guys that are there can get better as well. And one thing is, obviously that right side, whether it's Feliciano and McKivitz or it's Burford and McKivitz, this was McKivitz's first year ever as a full-time starter. So there is a reason. It is reasonable to think that he will ascend. He will get better in his second year, right? I think a lot of people just look at his first year and like, that's it. We know who Colton McKivitz is. There's no chance for him to grow as a player, and I think that's unfair to really say that about anybody. Like, give him. Obviously, the team feels enough confidence in him to give him another shot, and the other thing is that right side is going to have some continuity because they brought everybody back. So whether it's Feliciano, whether it's Burford, I think it's going to be Feliciano because I think he played, better throughout the season than Burford. But that offensive line has another year of continuity. The same offensive line that was good enough to get to be the offensive line on a Super Bowl challenging team. So another year of this unit together, you would assume they could take steps forward as well. So that's another way to really look at it. Now, when it comes to Renato Green, like, once again, he was the 9th cornerback taken off the board. So to me, there's people that are like, oh, it was a reach and all this kind of stuff. This draft was a little bit different where the depth wasn't as much as in previous drafts. So if there's a guy that you have a lot of conviction in, they're not necessarily a guy in the 4th, 5th, 6th round that you can get that is comparable, right? And like they've done in previous drafts. So to me, when they picked him, it was somebody that wasn't on my radar at all. So I was kind of like, okay. Luckily, you messaged me and you were like, this is a baller. You're going to love him. So I was excited about that because I know you're a Florida State guy. But when you start looking at his tape, when you start hearing football guys talk about the type of player he is, he just reminds me a lot of what has succeeded on the 49ers. A guy like Diamador Lenore, who has that confidence, plays physical. Sometimes you think he's cocky and arrogant, like he's picking fights with the opposing team and not backing down and all that kind of stuff. Diamador Lenore is one of my favorite players on the team. Renato Green reminds me a lot of that mentality. So to me, I feel like he's going to be a perfect fit, and especially in a position of need, because we do need an outside corner that we could rely on. That was kind of a revolving door last season. We have Mooney Ward, we have Diamador Lenore. We don't have that third guy that we could really depend on. I think Renato Green has a chance to be that guy and get some really solid playing time this season.
Yeah, absolutely. If you Everett Thomas is so inconsistent. There were times where the boy can play and cover well, and you're like, oh man, Everett Thomas on the outside, Lenore on the inside, and Ward. But unfortunately, there wasn't consistency with Everett Thomas. He always fall off, give up the big plays. Renato Green is going to bring that consistency that you loved about Everett Thomas on a daily basis. You're going to see that. So you're going to fall in love with him. I love this guy. This guy is a dog. He's not afraid of receivers. He plays the ball. I watched a great interview with Stats, and he brought on Herm Edwards on his podcast. And Herm Edwards broke down, he's a defensive secondary guy. He played I believe corner, if not safety. I don't remember. It's been a minute, but he played in the secondary. He talks highly about the secondary, and one of the things that he mentioned that really caught my eye was that a lot when he coaches the secondary, a lot of corners don't play the ball. They play the receiver. They're always on the chase mode. They're always chasing the receiver, trying to knock the ball down. One thing that Horn Edwards said was, when the ball's in the air, it belongs to anybody. There's no thought process. Just because the quarterback's throwing it to a certain receiver, it belongs to that receiver. Once it's up in the air, that ball is a 50-50 for anybody back there. So he always told his corners, play the ball. Play the ball. Try, look back. How many times have we seen Ambry Thomas not look back? And a penalty costs us a lot of yards. You know what I mean? You got to look at the ball. You got to take the ball away. He broke it down, and I love that take. If you haven't seen it, I'll put the link on. Great guy, Coach Herm Edwards. He coached John Lynch when they were at Tampa. For those who don't know,
I think one thing, Beto, I did want to ask you, because one of the things that I think can be, it's one thing you're excited about, but also could be a problem is at this level, he's very aggressive.
Yes, that
But
can hurt him.
it could hurt him because you could get penalized at this because he's very he plays with his hands a lot. So
Yeah, they said
receivers
he's
at this
very
level.
handsy.
Exactly. So, do you think that because penalties have been? I remember a few years ago when D'Amico was still the defensive coordinator. There was that at the beginning of the season where the 49ers were just losing games because the defense was having so many pass interference plays. Is that something that could potentially keep Green off of the field, or do you think that is something that he can harness so that he's not being a liability with the penalties?
Yeah, I think if they can teach him to look for the ball, look back, look for the ball. If you look for the ball, most likely than not, you're going to eliminate a lot of those penalties. It's when you're trying and you're tracking the receiver, and then when you see the receiver arms go up, then you kind of react and you put your hands up. And if you touch the receiver in any shape or form, you're going to get a penalty. But if you look for the ball, that's going to take away a lot of those penalties. There are things that, every player that comes out of college, there's a lot of good and a lot of bad practices that these are where the coaches of the Niners staff need to really emphasize what he does best. Let's continue to strengthen them. What does he do bad? Let's work on those reps to make sure that he does it, because that's one thing that did concern me at Florida State at the penalties. That the referees in football are a little bit more picky than the referees in college. In college, they seem to let you play a little bit more than they do in the NFL. So a lot of things you got away with in the NFL, in college, you're not going to get away with in the NFL. So you can't bring that mentality. And so this is where our secondary coach, Holland, I believe is his name, where he's going to have to step up.
No, he's the linebackers coach. It's Daniel Bullock.
Daniel Bullock. Okay, sorry. Daniel Bullock. This is where he's going to have to step up and truly work on the weaknesses of Green and trying to have him improve in that. But I think this kid is smart enough that he'll pick up quickly. He'll learn from his mistakes, and I think he'll be a better player in the NFL than he was in college, in my opinion. Now, this is maybe me being a homer and wanting him to be a better player. Maybe, wink, wink. But man,
He better. They spent the second round pick on him. So
they did, yeah. So this is where I'm kind of nervous, man, because I really want him to really be a great corner because he represents Florida State. But not only that, now he represents the red and gold, the Niners, and so I wish him the best. But I think if anybody can do it, he can do it. But only time will tell.
Here's the thing why it's so important as well, Beto. The 49ers have 0 of their starting corners under contract next season.
Yes.
So Mooney Ward is a free agent. Demo is a free agent. So the likelihood of signing both of those guys is probably not
great.
possible. So Green and the 49ers have put some capital. They've drafted, corners like Samuel Womack, like Luter. But these guys haven't necessarily shown that they could be that reliable players. So This is the highest I think the 40 this regime has ever selected a
Yes,
corner. So they're putting a lot of stock in that this guy is going to come in and be the solution, because more than likely he has to be the starter next season, because um, I doubt they'll have enough money to re-sign both Mooney Ward and Diamond Lenore.
you're right. If Lenore has another Pro Bowl year, I think they can bring back Lenore at a better
Mhm.
price than they're ever going to bring Ward. Ward has another Pro Bowl year. He's going to get paid. I'm not saying they can't, but most likely, if you ask me which of those two players may not be here next year, will be Ward, in my opinion, based on how productive he is this year with our defense.
And to be honest, if they both cost the same, I would rather have Diamond Lenore, just because of his ability
Yes,
to play outside and nickel. So to me, that's the player. He's younger. He's, still
very good point.
ascending. He's versatile. So my guess is next season, you know, Diamond Lenore and Renato Green ideally are going to be, the starting corners there. But that says a lot that Green has to be able to come in and make an impact immediately.
Yeah, if he does good, the transaction moving away from Ward will be easier. If he doesn't come out and play well year one, that decision, the Niners might be forced to pay Ward. So that's going to make a big decision whether they pay Ward or they don't, based on the production of Green this season, in my opinion. Tony Smith, I see you. Beth, I see you there. Welcome, welcome
I
to
would
the
actually
show.
be surprised if we brought back Mooney Ward next season.
You'll be surprised.
Yeah,
Why is that?
money,
Okay.
the money. I don't think. Obviously, I don't think we're not gonna, break the bank. So if he did come back, I would be surprised.
And this is going to be his second contract, so he's going
Yes,
to be older. He's going to be in his 30s, and usually when corners get into their 30s, like that's when stuff starts to go downhill. You could say, especially with the way these receivers are just freak athletes, right? So I agree. I agree with Jess. I think money mixed with age, and he probably, 49ers aren't going to be one of those teams that could, splurge on players. They're too good, right? And they have too many good players that they're paying. That's where this draft is so important, and these next few drafts are so important, that they have to be able to bring in talent that can be on those cheap rookie contracts, but still play like, really, really expensive players, right? So that's kind of the game that the 49ers have to play now, that they're going to end up paying, Purdy and, Ayuk and all these guys.
absolutely. And I'm a guy that, like I said this earlier in the show, I don't follow points. I'm very free spirit individual. So when I see comments that are brought up, I like to read them and throw them in there and keep our audience involved in the show as much as I can. Beth had a question, and I'm going to ask Suneil, since you are a guest, what your thoughts on it, and then you can follow up, Jess, on this. Do you all think you will win the NFC West again this coming season?
Yeah, Beth, I think my answer is yes. I do think that the Rams, the Seahawks, and Arizona got better through the draft and through free agency. However, I do think there's still a significant uh, void when it comes to the talent that the 49ers have versus those teams. I think that the Rams are, obviously they came on at the end of the last season. I do think that they, another year of Puka, healthy Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp will probably be healthier this season. They obviously lost Aaron Donald, which is a huge, huge loss, but they did bring in some young guys that potentially can help offset that. So I do think that the Rams are the biggest challenge that the 49ers are going to face. I do still think that the 49ers are just that much better than them. So I do expect them to win. Don't expect them to sweep, or go maybe 5-1 like they did, last season. I do think it's going to be a little bit closer, but I could see them winning it, going 4-2, potentially 5-1, in the division.
Go ahead, Jess, follow up.
I think we win the NFC West. And I agree with you, Sunil. The Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks, they did get better. But we also still have who we have. And that puts us ahead of those three teams. So yeah, I do believe that we win the NFC West.
I agree. Now, people need to keep this in mind. You're structured as a team already with the vets and the players you had there last year. You bring in young kids from college, they can probably hit year one, but most likely they're going to develop. So if you ask this question 2 years from now, it might be a different pick for me, maybe depending where we're at. But you're one of players, no matter how good you are. And the Rams got two great defensive players, Florida State and Fisk and Verse. They're going to do some. I hate to face them, but everything got better in the West. But the Niners were already better. It's not about getting better. It's how good are you now? And the Niners just came off a Super Bowl by maybe a play or two of winning it. So the Niners are consistent. They added some more power to their roster, but they're banking on the players that are here now and what they can do. So for me, yes, I think that the Niners definitely win the West this year. Great question, Beth. Appreciate you. So we talked about the corner. We talked about our receiver, and we talked about our
O lineman.
O line. Now I might have to bring you back for part two, Suneil, and we'll talk about that to kind of finish it off. So I want to talk about some of the undrafted free agents, and I'm keeping an eye on the clock as well. So we might have to make this a part two episode. If you're welcome, if you were able to come back with us again to finish off the rest of the draft. But let's move over a little bit to the undrafted free agents, and I want to get your thoughts on the kids that we picked up. I believe we picked up Tanner, which I heard you talk and ask Rohan a question about. I think Tanner's a great pick. The one that I'm intrigued with is the running back, Cody Schroeder from Missouri. I think this kid is a great running back. I don't know how he went undrafted, to be honest with you, but that's me. They took Tariq Owens, and if I screw up the names, I apologize, from Missouri State. They took tight end Mason, from Furman. Drake from Michigan, Bryson May, Southern Mississippi tackle. This kid right here, this interior guy, Evan Anderson, they gave him $280,000, and I forgot how much it was to sign him. It was a huge amount for an undrafted free agent. They see potential in this kid. If you haven't seen the video when he jumps into the pool, it's amazing. It's awesome.
Athlete.
He's an athlete, absolutely. So, and then we got safety Jalen Mahoney from Vanderbilt. What are these signings that you particularly like and think they can fit and actually win a spot on this roster coming from an undrafted free agent?
Yeah, and just for just to be completely honest, I haven't done a lot of research into the undrafted guys quite yet. So other than, I kind of went an order of how much the 49ers, I guess, invested in them. But the name I'll put out there is Drake Nugent from Michigan, the center. To me, he was somebody that I was surprised went undrafted. When you talk about coming from being a starting center on a Jim Harbaugh offensive line that won a championship, and playing as many years as he did as a starter there. To me, just the pedigree of that is a big deal. I think that in a few years, and potentially even sooner, we're going to need an upgrade at that center position. Brendel, he's serviceable and he's adequate, but he's not, elite by any stretch of the imagination, nor is he even above average. So if a guy like Nugent could come in, compete maybe for that position, it'd be nice to have somebody potentially, fighting for that starting role, because I do think that if Kyle Shanahan is wowed by somebody at the center position, that's a position where maybe somebody could get some starting time, because I do think that even though they did give Brendel that extension or that contract, they still they still are looking for ways to upgrade and get younger, and maybe Nugent could be that guy.
Yeah, I like him for Michigan. I thought it was kind of unusual for him to go undrafted. Now he is 6'1". He's a short guy, and a lot of it, I know that took a lot of thought why he went undrafted. But the kid, I mean, he played against some elite level defenses, and he held his own. Just go and watch the championship game. He did a great, phenomenal job there. So I'm excited to see if he can push Brendo out. I mean, you never know, man. It's this camp is going to be fun.
I think Brendel's more of a liability than McKivitz is.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's interesting. Why do you say that, Jess?
Because I feel like Brendel kind of regressed a little bit as the season went on, and even though you made a good point earlier that McKivitz, this was his first year as a starter, there's growing pains there. But I feel, just the way the games went, I just feel that he's more of a liability than McKivitz.
Hmm. I mean, stats wise, obviously McKivitz allowed significantly more sacks than anybody else on the offensive line, but he's also going up against much better. He's going up usually against a very, very potent edge rusher as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I think Trent Williams obviously is elite. Everybody else is average. There's not, obviously with guys like Banks, Burford, they're still young, so potentially they can make that leap forward. But yeah, it's good. I think one thing about this year's camp where you're mentioning, Beto, there's competition at all of those positions, and that competition, I
Hmm.
think, is going to make the players better. Whether or not they even get on the playing field to replace, hopefully, it would make the starters actually push themselves because they see somebody over their shoulder that potentially could come in and take their spot.
Absolutely. And for me, the center position is such a critical position because you're like the quarterback of
Hmm.
the offensive line. Your responsibilities is not just hiking the ball and giving it to the quarterback. It's where the linemen are lined up. What if you're going to run the play? If it's the run play versus a passing play, a lot of the tackles, the guards kind of go off your cue as a center, and a lot of times when you see a tackle or you see a guard mess up, a lot of those we blame the individual, but a lot of those can go and fall on the center for not doing his job right. And you're like, well, what does he got to do with not covering a certain player? It's a lot for a center. So when you find a good center, they can be that Peyton Manning of the center. This is why what's his name? The one that played with Peyton Manning, I forgot his name. The center. Was it Saturday? I think
Yeah,
it was his
Saturday.
name. That guy, him and Manning, two quarterbacks like back to back like that. I'm like, oh my god, that's why they were so great together because they thought like one. And so I think center's a great position, and I think this is where this kid can bring in some from Michigan can bring some of that because I saw a lot of that in college. Now college is different from NFL. We'll see how it transcends, but we don't need him to come in and win that spot to this year. He can develop. He can go out. I don't think he'll make the team. I hope he makes the team, but he could probably be what do you call those? When you let him go and then you bring him back to the practice squad candidate. He might not make the practice squad because he might be taken away right away. I don't know. I hate the practice squad because you have it's not. People crack me up. They're like, oh yes, they didn't get picked up. They made it to the practice squad, so they can still be pushed off the practice squad. They just have to be starters now. They can't, the people don't realize if anybody takes a player from your practice squad, they have to be starters on that team, whoever pushes them away from you on their 53-man roster. But it doesn't mean they're safe there.
Right.
The only way they're safe is if they're on your 53-man roster. Real quick, when we dismiss you tonight, Suneil, because I know your time, let me know on X if you're available to do a part 2. If you are, we can always come. Sorry.
He's ready for me to go, clearly.
No, it's just there's a 2 block. Come here, Cleo. Come here. there's 2 blocks away from us. We have a home for the mentally ill, and there's a lady that always walks through my community. I don't know how she gets into. We're a block community. She gets into the community and she's selling fake tamales. She don't make tamales, but in her mind she makes tamales. So she's always asking people to buy the same bag that she's, thank you. The tamale lady was here, my wife. So I apologize, and I have the window open, and she went right to my window because she saw because she's not constant. She's calling my name, or not my name, but she's saying "señor," which says "Mister" in Spanish, and she's trying to get and she would not move until I respond. She'll be there for an hour, Mister, you know what I mean? So anyway, we've kind of went off the angles there. Compliments to my Chihuahua, but Suneil, with that, on that note. On that last bark, we're going to let you go, brother, because I do appreciate you. I do honor your time. Definitely would like to bring you back as part 2, man. We'll talk about that.
Sure.
Anything you want to say before we let you go, brother?
No, I just, once again, Beto, you are, the last time we did the show together, I learned a lot about you. You look so much better than even last year when we were talking. I hope that means that you're feeling a lot better, healthy, hopefully up
blessed,
and
yes,
around and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would love to come on the show. Jess, it was beautiful meeting you as well. Everybody watching,
Likewise.
thank you. And, we'll see each other very soon.
All right, brother. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, that was Suneil. Let's give him a hand of applause. So, Jess, we'll finish off the show a little bit. So, what were your thoughts on the draft? We'll get back to the draft. I don't know. Did you follow any of the undrafted free agents by any chance?
A little bit, not as much.
Okay. So all right. So let's stick with the draft. What were your thoughts overall of the draft? I understand it's hard to really dictate how good they're going to be into year 2 or 3. I don't know about you and your thought process, but I'm going to ask people that do grades on this year's draft class. I never understood that concept. It's like, I understand they're looking at the position, they're looking at the need, and if they met the need, I know they go by that, which is okay, but how do you really know what these guys are going to be? They gave Patrick Mahomes a C- when he was taken. He was a reach. That's what they called it, a reach, when the Kansas City Chiefs moved up to get him, and he just rewarded the Kansas City with his 3rd Super Bowl. So this is why it's always fair to say if you're going to do a grade, you're going to do it 2 to 3 years later to give an honest grade. But overall, what was your assessment of the whole draft in general?
Well, I find that if you're not on someone's mock draft, you're automatically a reach. I found that out this draft. You can tell that this draft was an Adam Peter-less draft. A la no defensive tackle, defensive end. It was very much a Kyle Shanahan draft. I feel with a sprinkle of John Lynch in there. But I actually liked it. I really did. The Ricky Pearsall pick, at first I was a little disappointed. But then I got to think about it, and, he's another route runner like Brandon Ayuk. And route runners, we need those. And if he runs anything like Brandon Ayuk, which he does, we're going to be lethal. And this kid also lives over the middle, and Brock Purdy loves throwing over the middle. As far as the 2 offensive linemen that were picked, like I alluded to earlier, I like the fact that they haven't let up a sack in a very long time. That's important. And I also like Malik Mustafa. I think he's probably my favorite because the kid could hit. He's a real tough player, and I think he'll be good in the secondary.
Yeah, I that's one of my favorite picks as well. Most definitely, this kid definitely underrated. I love what he's capable of doing, and what he's going to do here with the Niners, pairing him up with Jair Brown, Hufanga. I know when you come back from injury, depending on what type of injury, there's always that twinkling in your eye, like, can he be the same guy that he was before? I think Hufanga is one of the, nothing's certain until you see him on the field. But just based on the way the kind of a man he is, he's going to give it his all. He's going to push himself. Nobody can push him harder than he pushes himself to make it back. And Greenlaw is another one that I believe is going to do the same. These guys know what they love to do, and they want to do it at 100%. So I cannot wait to see a 3-set safety with Hufanga, Jair Brown, and Mr. Mustafa Malik. No, Malik. My apology. Malik Mustafa. I cannot wait to see his services on this secondary. It's going to be fun to watch. Kenny Niner Colt is in the house, brother.
What's up, Kenny?
What's up, man? Good to see you.
You know what, too, and just to touch on Hufanga's ACL, modern medicine is not like how it used to be.
Yeah.
So I really don't have a doubt in my mind that, both Huff and Greenlaw come back and they're back to their old selves.
The best combination is modern medicine with someone that has all heart and it won't give up. You mix those two ingredients together and something beautiful always comes out of it. Imagine being a player in the 60s. When you got an ACL, your career was over.
Yep.
It was over. Now you just miss a year and then you're back. And it's crazy. I think in the future, it's going to be moments where you get an ACL and you only miss a game.
Look at Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, he's an outlier though. He is an outlier. That dude, what he did, 2,000 yard rushing after coming off an injury. Yeah, that guy's he's robot somewhere. I don't think he's 100% human.
He's a different animal.
He's a different animal. Yeah, that's an outlier, man. But you're right. There are players that put the work in, and if you put in the work and you pay the price and don't give up, you're going to come ahead. But it's not easy. Like I said, I'm not going to go back to WWE, but I was just watching the documentary of The Undertaker and what he's gone through with the pain. I know a lot of people know that the WWE is fake. It's not real wrestling. It's not like, but it's real physical things they do. They put their body on the line for those matches. They do get hurt. They do get MCLs. They do break their back there. And this guy has so many surgeries. He had a hip replacement a few times. And I'm like, oh my God, what you put your body through to compete at the highest level, to give your audience who's watching you wrestle the desire to watch you more. And they put their bodies to some crazy stuff. So, it just depends on your mentality and who you are as a person. If you are that person that believes in himself, doesn't give up, with the addition of modern medicine, you'll be fine. So I expect both of those players to be comebacks. And that's why I love to see the comeback player of the year when you see the termination of certain players. So Jess, we had our guest, Suneil. Hopefully we can have him back to finish off the rest of the draftees on there. Are you excited? Now, next Thursday, I believe, and it'll be perfect for our show, the schedule comes out. So we can talk about the schedule next Thursday.
Really? Next Thursday?
Yes, ma'am. The schedule comes out.
I missed that.
Yeah. So after next Thursday, everything's going to go for a while into somewhere June.
That's okay. We always find things to talk about.
Of course. But we definitely have the schedule to talk about. Then we can break up, maybe depending on how much time we have, we can do the wins and losses. We'll figure something out. But the schedule comes out next Thursday. So looking forward to that. Because everybody knows who we're going to play. We just don't know when we're going to play them. And when the schedule comes out, is for me at least, it's who we're playing in September, week 1. And we're playing at home or away. And then if we're playing Buffalo, my question is, are we playing Buffalo in September? Are we playing Buffalo in December? And people don't realize there's a huge difference. Why? Not only because they play out the year and they get better, but playing in Buffalo with that snow, it's not easy to do. So that's when I like to look at schedules. We know who they're playing. It's a matter of when they're playing. So we'll talk about that more next week. So, Jess, anything you got to say? Anything going on your show I noticed you had Tony on your show last Wednesday, yesterday. I know he was cutting in and out with his phone. That was funny. And then one time he came on and it sounded like he brought the Air Force with him with the wind. It was like,
Yeah. Well,
I'm
he was actually on vacation.
wow.
He had spotty Wi-Fi.
Now Tony,
but
I love his education on football. That guy knows his football.
He definitely is knowledgeable. So I like having him on. But we got a couple things in the works. We'll see what happens for next week. But East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Check us out. Like, subscribe, and we're on every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Sweet, and make sure, guys, to go. Niner Sickness podcast. Make sure if you're watching me on Facebook, many of you guys are. Make sure to make your way over to YouTube. Hit the like and subscribe button, and if you haven't done so already, would appreciate that. Trying to continue to build my channel. Do the same for Jess. Go to her YouTube channel, build it up for her as well. We appreciate each and every one of you. Everybody in the chat, you guys are the MVP of the show. Always. Without you, me and Jess is just having a personal conversation. You guys always what makes the show. We appreciate you guys. With that, stay tuned. If you love Suneil today, you're going to love him when we bring him back for part 2 of this podcast. Until then, we say goodnight. Have a wonderful day. And always remember, remain faithful. We're out of here.
Go Niners.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.